Hello everyone, welcome to the class. I hope my audio and video are fine. Kindly affirm. Okay, so today we are going to talk about Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Can someone please text in the on like whatsoever theory he has proposed on intelligence, like the cognitive developmental stages that he has proposed. We are going to go through each one of them. So we'll wait for 2-3 more minutes so that other people joins, and then we will begin with our class. Okay everyone, can someone please affirm if my audio is fine? Okay everyone, so let us begin with today's class. Today we are going to discuss about Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget was actually a Swiss psychologist. He was majorly from the biology background. He actually worked as a doctor in World War One, and initially he was doing IQ testing of the people, the same IQ testing made by Binet. But later on he wanted to give another viewpoint in terms of intelligence. He does not really wanted intelligence to be termed as a ability, something which is innate, something which cannot be developed more, right? Something which just exists as it is. So he gave his theory wherein he talked that our IQ is adaptive or our IQ is transformative. He had 3 children and he used them as participants, and he tested his theory of cognitive development, which kind of makes his theory much more reliable because it has been tested, but still the sample size was very less, right? So now the theory basically says that the children actively construct the knowledge as they manipulate and explore the world. He says that it is not just that we know the knowledge, we experience whatsoever is going on. We construct the knowledge, we try to gain whatever. For example, when a child is really small, right? They have their eyes, they see things, they see different colors, different sounds they hear, right? So they want to explore everything that they see, right? And his theory was interactionist. He said that we are just not observing them, but we are interacting with those objects as they come. We are interacting with the experiencing as we have. So he said that it is a constructivistic model, which means that he said that children are like little scientists who observe everything, who try to manipulate everything. When a child is very small, they are just observing, right? We'll go through the stages. But when they interact with the environment, when they learn, when they manipulate their environment, when they manipulate the experiences that they have, they construct their own world, they construct their own environment, right? The perception of that particular environment. And the theory proposed by him was discontinuous in nature. So whenever we read about any kind of the developmental theory, we segregate them into two bases. Either the theory is continuous in nature or either the theory is discontinuous in nature. So whenever any kind of theory which is given in terms of stages, we always say that it is discontinuous in nature. Okay, and continuous would be that the learning or the development is just happening just like that without any stages or without any age indication which is there. So the theory proposed by Jean Piaget is discontinuous in nature, and he said that the stages that he has proposed are universal in nature. They are applicable on all the children around the world. So it is a one course development. One type of development is there in every children around the globe. And he actually talked about both the aspect. He took into account the nature, the heredity aspect, the genetic aspect, and he also gave equal importance to the nurture or the environmental aspect. He said that, as he said, we manipulate our environment, we interact with our environment. So for example, we can see things, right? We have an IQ which is genetic in nature, but if the child will not interact with the environment, right, the child is curious, they would want to interact with the environment, and when they do so, then they develop the best, right? So the development will occur as the brain grows, as the maturation takes place in terms of age, right? And it will also grow, like the development will also happen if the child actually exercise their innate drive, they exercise their curiosity to interact with the environment. And like if we talk about Freud, he paid more attention, or he said that our the past experiences or the childhood experiences are of main importance, but he said that both the experiences that we will have during our early childhood or like early phases of life or the later phases of life, both the experiences are important, right? Moving ahead, he said that when we interact with the environment, when we want to learn something, right, so we have our senses which act as a mode of interaction, right? So we try to organize that information, we try to interpret that particular experience, so we create some schemas. What are schemas? Let me add another slide, please. Schemas are nothing. Schemas are just that we are creating a model for everything, or we are creating a structure for everything that we are learning. For example, today I went outside and I saw a butterfly in the park. So this is my experience. This is what I saw visually there, like it was of different colors, etc. Right? Then after I went through, I saw a particular pond. Okay, and there was this beautiful voice of the streaming, etc. Right? So this was my experience, and now I would particularly structure that particular experience. I would particularly organize that particular experience, maybe as a story. Maybe you can also take an example of a strategy. For example, when you have to, for example, you want to prepare for a particular exam. Let us take an example. Let us take an example. For example, you want to prepare for NET. So you will create a strategy, right? You will say, okay, first of all, I would get done with my basics. I would do this unit, that unit, right? So you create a structure in order to organize your experience, in order to simplify that particular experience for yourself. Similarly, Piaget said that we start to create our mental structures, mental model that help us in representing, organizing or interpreting the experience that we had, right? So Piaget said that reality is a dynamic system of continuous stage. We know change is the truth. change will keep on happening, and that is our reality. So the reality will inform both the aspect. The reality will involve the present state that we are in, and the reality will also involve the transformation that we will do. For example, when you were a little child, right, your parents told you that this is water, right? But when you grew, you also observe that, okay, so we have different water bodies, we have pond, we have lake, we have oceans, and you started to differentiate it between them, right? So you transformed. It was not that you created a schema, you created a mental structure and it remained just like that forever. No, you changed that particular schema, you transformed that particular schema. So according to Piaget, your reality, right? So you have a schema, you will start creating schema. We create schema in order to represent our experience, organize our experience, or interpret our experience. But that schema will keep on changing, it will keep on transforming as you grow, right? So he said that in order to aid the changes that are going to be there in schema, we indulge in two processes. Either we change the schema through adaptation, or we change the schema through organization. Okay? So what is adaptation? Now, as I told you that Jean Piaget was inclined towards biology. He had his experience in biology. He was working as a doctor as well. So he was very much influenced by these adaptation factor. We also learn this in evolution, right? Or like basic survival function. We change certain aspects about maybe our personality, maybe our, like if we talk about in evolution, there are different structures of our body, or like we have genetically modified as well, right, in order to fit to our environment. Similarly, there is some psychological adaptation which happens, right, which will change when we interact with the environment. So what will happen in adaptation? First of all, there is a schema which is there, that is said and done, right? Schema is there. So if I come across something which aid my current schema, for example, there is this, okay, wait, let me draw it again. So for example, there is a cat that you saw, right? So now you saw another cat which is there, which was of a different color, and you still said that, okay, it is a cat. Okay, now it was adding on to your current similar schema which was there. So you didn't have to change that schema. You just learned that, okay, cats can be of different colors, right? Maybe the initial cat that you saw was white in color, but now it is black in color. So if the new information that you are learning is similar to that of the current schema that you know, we would assimilate it in our current schema, right? So now here there would be no modification of the schema. My prior schema which was there, or my prior information was correct, and what I did, I just added on new information to it. But there can be times when that particular information is incorrect. For example, in this particular example, there was this cat of another color, but there can be other aspect also. For example, the child learnt to call a particular animal cat, but now they see a cow. I'm not drawing a cow, okay? So now they see a cow, but they still call that cow a cat, because they think that every other animal, every other species that we see are cat. Now that is what? That is a wrong information. That does not align with our old schema, right? So the parent correct the child saying that, no, this is not a cat, this is a cow. So now what did we have to do? We had to accommodate, we had to modify our current schema, right? So what did we do? We create new schema in order, or we will modify or adjust the old schema that we have. Okay, so there is this process of adaptation which is happening in this particular chart that you see. Either we will assimilate and we will reach the stage of equilibration, which is equilibrium. We know it is correct. Now there is this new situation which arrived, which was this cat and cow situation, which created disequilibrium. Okay, which created disequilibrium. How? Cognitively, right? It was not matching on with the prior information that I was aware about. So I accommodated that particular information. I created a new schema, or I modified what I already knew about, right? So now we have different cognitive stages which have been proposed by Jean Piaget. Just give me a second, okay? Okay, everyone. So we were talking about the various cognitive stages which have been proposed by Jean Piaget. So I am going to tell you a mnemonic by which you can learn this particular stages. Because if we talk about net exam or any other type of exam, sequence is actually asked. So you can remember it by some people, okay. You can remember it as some people can't focus. So we will go through all of these stages one by one. Firstly, we have sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. Okay. But before moving on to that, there was another process of change that is there. So now we will see how schemas are adapted or organized during all of these stages which are there. Okay. Firstly, let us look at organization, which is the second process by which we can keep or we can make changes to our schema. So we know that we keep on organizing our schemas, right? So for example, initially you learnt Jean Piaget theory on your own. Okay. Now you have learnt maybe some new information. You have assimilated that particular information and you moved ahead, right? So now you would also need to reorganize that particular information, right? Because we create mental structures, we create our own schema, and we know that whenever I have learned something or whenever I have learned any new schema, I will organize or I will rearrange that whole information again. Okay? So that I am able to link them with the other schemas that I already have, or I am able to create a strongly interconnected cognitive system. So we can take an example of the developmental theories itself. So there are different developmental theories which are there. For example, we have Jean Piaget's theory, or we have Vygotsky's theory. So we create these kind of flow charts, right? Or maybe we have Jerome Bruner's theory. So we create these kind of mental structures. Now you know different information about Jean Piaget theory, Vygotsky theory, Jerome Bruner theory as well. And as you keep on learning new things, as you keep on changing, or as you keep on transforming the information that you already knew about, or as you are assimilating or accommodating your schemas, you will keep on organizing them again and again. Now, moving ahead with the different cognitive stages that we have, I already told you that there is this mnemonic that we use, which is some people can't focus. So, S is for our sensory motor, then pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. First of all, we look at sensory motor stage. Sensory motor, as the name suggests, what are we using? We are using the senses, different senses that we have, our eyes, our nose, our tongue, etc. So when a child is born, as the stage is from birth to age 2, what do? They just maybe like see different colors, see different things that are around them, right? Or maybe they like touch different things, and they are very curious also at that stage, right? But there are different sub stages in sensory motor stage as well. Wait. So there are six different sub stages which are there under sensory motor sub stage. So the first stage that we talk about is reflexive scheme. When a child is just till 1 month old, it is birth till 1 month, they are not able to explore a lot of different things. They are just able to use the reflexes that they already have. For example, you must be aware there are different reflexes such as rooting, Moro, Babinski, right? So they would keep on indulging, or they would just use the reflexes that they have, right? And they are not able to do a lot of things because they are not ready physically as well, right? And as we talked while the introduction of this particular theory, Jean Piaget gave a lot of importance to the nature as well. So obviously if a child is not able to move around, they're not able to do anything, they will just use the reflexes that they have in order to explore the world, right? Then the second thing the second stage, which is from 1 to 4 months, is primary circular reaction. Now what are these circular reactions that the child involves into? Circular reaction is nothing but something that they are repeating again and again, right? For example, when they are at stage 2, they are repeating the basic need like task again and again. Maybe like the hunger task, if we talk, or the hunger if we talk about, they are just limited to their primary body needs, their primary habits that are there. And why is it known as circular? Because it moves around in circle also. It is the same loop which keeps on repeating again and again, and it is primary in nature, just focused upon the primary needs of the child, which might be food, comfort, warmth, etc. Then comes secondary circular reactions. Now the child will keep on now they have learned different things. They would indulge in the action where they are repeating the interesting effects. For example, when you make a sound, the child laughs, right? So they would keep on repeating the effects which are interesting to them, which they like. Now they are 4 to 8 month old. For example, they would also laugh, or for example, if you make a particular noise, they would react to that, right? So they would be imitating the familiar behavior, and they would be repeating the interesting effects which are there in their surrounding. Then comes the stage 4. Here a lot of development happens. Now this stage is coordination of the secondary circular reaction. Herein they would do what? They would start indulging in the intentional or goal directed behavior. For example, they will point at something that they like, or maybe if they want their mother, they will cry on purpose just to get the attention of their mother, right? So, and here in this particular stage, the object permanence will also develop. Now if you talk about till this third substage, the child will not really know, like or the object will not keep existing if it is out of sight for them. So till the stage 3, it is out of sight or out of mind. and out of mind, right? So if they are not able to see any object or any person, they do not exist for them after that point. But in this particular sub-stage, the child has developed object permanence. So by the time the child is 8 to 12 month old, they know that they have hidden a particular object at a point of time. You can see here the child is finding the object under the cloth, maybe where they hid it or maybe where they saw their parent hide it. But still, during this particular period of time, there are errors which might be made. Okay, so we are talking about substage 4. So here A not B error can be there. For example, in this age you can fool a child also. For example, you gave them a toy initially and they want the same toy right now. So you can maybe bring another toy and they will be okay, like they'll feel like okay, they have gotten the toy. Till substage 4, till they are 8 to 12 months. But as they move to the 5th stage, which is tertiary circular reaction, they will be able to accurately search, or they'll be able to do accurate A and B search, right? And as it is the tertiary circular stage, now they will also start to manipulate the experiences or the objects which are there, right? For example, till the child is 1 year old, they will not, like, they will just maybe imitate you, or maybe they would just indulge in the intentional or whatever behavior that they want to, right? But now as they are from the age group of 12 to 18 months, they would start interacting more with their environment. For example, if you give them a particular toy, they would explore the function, all the, maybe like if it is a car, they will explore the, okay, like there are tires, there are this, there are that, right? And they would also start imitating the new behaviors, right? So there would be accurate A and B search, there would be interaction with the objects, and they'll be able to, not a lot, like there would obviously be a factor of the age or the biological development, but still they'll be able to explore the different properties which are there in the toy, as we just took the example. The last stage which is there, 6th stage, which is mental representation. Now the child has begun to, create these internal depiction or these schemas that we talk about, that the child can manipulate. They have actually started to learn. For example, now this cat and cow example that we took earlier makes sense, right? So they are able to manipulate those mental representation or those schema as well, right? And then there is invisible displacement in it. For example, they will be able to find a toy which was moved out, and there would be deferred imitation as well, which means that they will be copying the behavior of the people who are not present. For example, if you will ask a child, okay, how does your father do? So they will make, or they will imitate the same behavior now again. For initially, when a child was maybe in like the secondary circular stages, they were still imitating the behavior, but maybe in present of the other. If you show tongue to your child, they were showing tongue back. But now what they are doing, they are imitating the familiar or imitating the behavior of the people who are not even present now. Then at last we have make-believe play, right? So they would start on to represent some mental symbols as well, but they are not that developed during this time. So this is these are the 6 sub stages which are there in sensory motor stage. It starts from birth till the age of 2. The child is making the use of various senses that they have, right? They are playing, or like they are doing what? They have also developed object permanence, right? And then there are different sub stages. Initially the child did not even know, like they were okay with it. Initially they were just doing the behavior which was primary or which was fulfilling their primary needs, but they have grown a lot. They have learned to indulge in the goal directed behavior, right? And at last stage they started to create mental representations as well. So this was about the first stage, the sensory motor stage, which is there. The next stage that we are going to talk about is the pre-operational stage, which ranges from 2 to 4 years old. Now Jean Piaget said that we indulge in various operations which are there, right? Various activities which are there, right? And in order to do so, there are like various mental representation that the child has formed which are needed. There are various other activities which are needed. So now we'll see what will happen in this particular stage itself. So when the child will start to indulge in pretend play or make believe play even more than they were indulging in the sensory motor. Now they have their representation have started to grow more. Initially they used to function on their intuition, right? Whatever feels good to them, they would just do that, right? And they have egocentrism. They think whatever their reality is, that is real. They would not even think about other people. So in order to see the egocentrism, 3 mountain task was made. So for example, there were 3 mountains which are there, and here there is a doll which is put up, and here is the child. Okay, this is the child and these are the 3 mountains. So now if the child is standing here and if we ask the child to tell us what the doll must be seeing, or what would be the what would be the visual for the doll, they would not be able to tell it. They would be just telling what they are seeing and they believe that is the reality. Okay? So there is egocentrism, and during this stage language development will also begin. Okay? And in this stage there is animism. Now what is animism? Animism is they would think that the animate object also have life. For example, there is their doll, so they would come bring that doll to their parents and they would say the doll is hungry, please give her food, right? So there is animism as well. Now moving on to the third stage, which is concrete operational stage. Now if you look at the second stage, there are not a lot of activities that they are indulging in. They are relying totally on their intuition. They just know what exists for them. There is a lot of centration, right? They just believe that whatever they believe, whatever they see, whatever they perceive is the reality. Whatever their schemas are, the same schemas are there for everyone. They're not able to think about, or they're not able to think in the way other people think. So like in the third stage it starts to develop. Now the child will not only rely on these schemas, or they will also start to learn about what other person is thinking, or what would be the perception of the other person. Here the conservation also starts to begin. Now let me add another slide and explain you what is conservation. So for example, there is this particular container where there is water filled. Now the child will know that even if we transfer this water in this particular like in the other container, the quantity of the water still remains the same. This is conservation. The child knows that even if we convert the particular, like even if we change the particular container, even if we change the whole like dimensions of the water, they would know that the amount of water is still the same. For example, there is a clay ball which is there, and we have flattened that particular clay ball. So they would know, okay, like the same amount of clay is there as it is there in the ball. So this is conservation. But there is another phenomena which can be there. When a child is small, when they are just 7 or 8, they do not know how conservation work for maybe weights, or maybe they have just learnt that how the conservation works for water, but they do not know how it works for the clay. It is known as horizontal decalage, where the child is not able to, they are not able to identify the same level of the problem, the same level of the issues which are there related to conservation. So they would agree, or they would learn that, okay, the water remains the same when we transfer it from one container to another container, but they would not be able to answer this, and this is known as horizontal decalage. So here the child will start to indulge a little in the, like maybe operational thinking. They are able to think a little like a scientist, but it is not fully. They are not able to transform the thought, and it is just limited to that. Now, as we move towards the last stage, which is formal operational stage, here the child will think just like a scientist. They would indulge in hypothetical deductive reasoning. So what will happen here? The child will not only just focus on these particular aspect or basic maths or something of that sort. No, now they are able to think of new scenarios. They are able to use logic or for abstract thoughts as well. So now abstract logic has also developed, and here moral reasoning will also develop. Right, so this was majorly about different stages given by Piaget, and whatever we have learned till now is that we have different schemas which keep on changing, right? And we change our schema with the help of these two processes, adaptation and organization. When we are a child, when we are from age 0 to 2, we are at a sensory motor stage, where we are just using our senses, the 5 basic senses that we have are, and we are exploring the world through those senses. And in the same process, we would form many schema, we would adapt those schema, and we would organize those schema. Then we would move to the next stage. Same things will keep on happening again and again till we are developed. It will keep on happening. So as we learnt initially, what did Jean Piaget say? He says both type of experiences, both the experiences at early stage and the experiences at later stage will play an important role. He said that our reality is made up of what? Made up of states and transformation. And we will go through the different stages. We will go through transformation while we are moving ahead through different stages, and we will learn, we will explore our environment, and we would construct our own reality. Okay? And the whole thought process, or the whole this theory, or this whole thought process of the Piaget is known as, or it is categorized to be of cognitive constructivistic nature, right? Where the child is using their abilities, their intelligence, their perception, right, in order to construct their reality. So it is in the domain of cognitive constructivism, right? So that was it from my end. If you guys have any queries, you may ask, and then we would wrap the class. Okay then, so I'll share the notes like after the class is over. So I'll share the notes in the group itself as a PDF, and you can go through the notes. You can read the whole thing. If there would be any query, I would try to cater to that. And yeah, that was it from my end. Thank you so much for attending the class. I'll see you again.